Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? So happy to be here, and I'm going to be joined here on the stage by Konrad, which is an innovation expert at PKO Bank Polska, by Richard Ice, OXO Holdings, investment director, and also by Patricia, which is founder at Cash Director. So we're going to debate about the fintech market here. So I'm Alexander Bogdan, I'm the CEO of RocaX. RocaX is a venture capital in Romania. We are active across the entire Europe, and obviously we did some fintech investments. So this is why I'm here. But I also love to see what are the new trends and how do you feel in the various corners of the market that the fintech is evolving. So I will invite you, each of you, to make a short presentation of yourself and tell us which are the trends that you foresee now.
In a bank. Okay, so my name is Konrad Ozdowy. I'm the innovation expert in PKO Bank Polski. So I'm responsible in cooperation with startups. So we made some partnership. We're implementing the startup to our bank to be more innovative, to to understand the trends. So we are really very open for the trends from the from the startup ecosystems, because it's more disruptive and they see it's easier for the small companies to to implement some new technology, and for us it's better way for implementing this new technology to our bank through these startups. Yes, so this is about that, and about the trends. So main trends, I think, right now in the banks. I mean, it's the the beyond banking, yeah, the through the and the I mean the added services that banks are trying to us right now, not to be only as a bank, but to give for their clients more services than only the possible to make some transfers and other things. So it's in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Patricia?
Hi, I'm Patricia Strzelska. I'm the co-founder and CCO, Chief Commercial Officer at Cash Director, a Polish scale-up in the fintech sector. Cash Director offers a solution for SMEs and for banks for automating daily finance for SMEs and automating also accounting and automating the cash flow management. This solution is integrated with online banking, so helps through the online banking helps banks and SMEs work together.
Hi everyone, my name is Richard from OXO Ventures. We are based in Hungary, and now we have an open-ended fund with a portfolio with 20 startup companies. Personally, I have 2 portfolio companies, which is fintech companies, so that's why I'm sitting here. But now we are still raising. We would like to raise some sector-specific fund. The first fund could be a green tech fund, but our second sector-specific closed-end fund could be a fintech fund. And what can I see in the trends in the future or in the past? Maybe I can start with the past. So as far as I can see, the past 2 years was a super intensive year in fintech because of the pandemic and because of the regulation as well. And there were a lot of acquisitions, mergers, and even if IPOs in the fintech area. And I assume that in the future it will continue. Maybe one thing what I'm missing a bit, in the past there were a lot of neobank in fintech area, and as far as I know, just few of them went public. And because we are a publicly listed company in Hungary, we truly believe the transparency of the public market. So I a bit missing about the IPOs, the huge number of IPOs, the neobanks.
Maybe I will add about the trends, yes, because I missed this. So I would say from 2 angles. When we look at the trends in what VCs are investing in terms of the fintech sector, we see a trend that investment goes to cryptocurrency, blockchain, also neobanks. So these are very, very large investments. But in terms of really the fintech and the banking industry, I fully agree with Konrad. Beyond banking is now the trend. Banks are looking for value-added services. I'm happy to comment on this a bit more in detail, but I'm very happy that Cash Director fully participates in this trend. Having now 5 banks signed, having now over 150 users on our platform. So we are fully in the trend.
So great, and I hope that this challenge that we already have, because it's a late panel, will give us an opportunity actually to attract more audience, and not only the specialist in fintech. Maybe we can go a bit deeper in what beyond banking means, also for the newbies in the sector. So maybe you should start from the perspective of the startup and scale up that is bringing new stuff on the market.
Okay, so beyond banking is means that banks are adding services or products and services that are embedded within the banking system or banking ecosystem to increase value to their customers, both retail and business customers. Why this trend is so significant now? Clients are really looking for a good experience within the bank, and clients are looking for, let's say, a one-stop shop place where they can find not only strictly traditional banking products, but let's say complementary solutions that basically help them either in their daily life, if these are consumers, or manage their daily business, like in case of Cash Director. So we are talking about really many solutions on the Polish market, such as topping up the SIM card, paying for the parking ticket, also embedded insurance and many other services, buying cash registers for small businesses. So when we look at the trends in the last years, we've seen that, of course, the banking industry has been changing and evolving, and many strong fintech companies appeared on the market. Some of them started to carve out some of the very profitable revenue from the banks. So now the reaction is on the side of the banks really to enrich the offering, to keep the clients, to increase their loyalty, and also to acquire more new business from the market. Let me just share the example from Cash Director. When we have done in 2016, so it's already 6 years ago, we've done the first integration of an online accounting and invoicing software with online banking. It was the first integration in Europe. We've done this with mBank, a fantastic partner to work with. And since then, the bank has reported, I'm not disclosing any information because that was announced by the bank. The bank was able to increase the SME client acquisition by 20%. Why? Because through including our platform and the services we offered, the bank ensured a really unique experience for the micro companies that were able, while logging to the online banking, were able to do everything from issuing invoices, getting paid, making payments, following their cash flow, even doing the full accounting, end-to-end accounting, including tax filing. So this was, for the bank, an opportunity to differentiate, to make a lot of, let's say, to differentiate from the other banks, to acquire new clients, but also to increase loyalty. Because once you have a client who uses a set of services within the online banking, within the ecosystem created by the bank, then the client is staying with you and is increasing, the number of, let's say, a variety and number of transactions. So the client is becoming a premium client for the bank. And the client is actually choosing this bank that offers the broadest and more comprehensive services as their primary bank, yes? And having a primary bank relationship, this is a dream for every player on the market, isn't it?
Yeah, just a short intervention. So you're saying that the customers are demanding more services to be brought to their advantage. But my question to you would be, isn't it the need of the bank to reinvent itself and provide more value added and not commoditize the banking services that drives this beyond banking trend?
You know, of course, that's true that that you know, but you know, it's hard to. Okay, so let's say from this beyond banking, that's exactly true what you said, Patricia. Go very deep in this subject. What I would like to add to this, to that, it's not what we see right now. The trends in Asian banks, that it's not only not that the that the value-added services are the beginning. Right now, the big trend is to making from the bank apps the mega app. And we see that these apps are for, they are connecting the some social media communicators. They're connecting even the marketplace, so you can you can enter every every part of your life every day doing you can do through one app. And of course, every app producer or maybe owner, not producer, owner want to be their app will be this mega one app. Yeah, of course, banks want to into their app will be. But answering to your questions, of course, bank it has to be said that that banks slept the digital revolution of the financial ecosystem, and right now, and because of that, there was and there is still a big boom for fintechs. Yeah, so because they slept the digital revolution, but about the services, but also about the offer for the clients. Yeah, so the clients need some different services, and it's and the fintechs are offering them better. But now we see that most banks are change their direction, and they see that they have to go with the trends. Yes, and they are and they are switching, so they're they're sometimes even reinvent a bank. So sometimes, for example, there are they are doing sub banks for the special group of people. For example, there is some Spanish bank to make some sub banks simply for the Gen Z with different communication, because it's hard to reinvent the bank as it is, but they can do other banks, I mean sub banks, to to be more like fintechs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I was wondering whether, because you're telling us the story about 6 years ago already reinventing some of the services and how you have contributed to this, how easy is for a scale-up in this region of Europe to grow and to ride this trend of beyond banking?
Actually, your question has two components, because it's, as I hear it, it's about how easy or how difficult it is to raise money, and how difficult and easy it is to work with banks. And these are two parallel stories. So let me start with the investments. We had a huge peak worldwide in terms of the value of investment in the fintech industry last year, 2021. However, let's not be misled. These investments went mostly to well-established and well-known brands. Most of this, I mean, a very important part of this investment, over $200 billion, went to large tickets. So that's first. Second, in terms of specific sector or subsector, the large investments went to cryptocurrency and blockchain companies. And second were investments in neobanks such as Revolut. So these are very specific targets for the investors. And only after comes digital payments and digital lending. Only after that. Also, when we look so just starting with the global picture, then CEE, only 5% of the European investments went to Central and Eastern Europe. Only 5%. And from this 5%, in Poland, 25% went to healthcare sector, and only 9% to the fintech sector. So when you decompose, then you come up with a let's say, much modest, more modest, let's say, figure and situation in Poland. So it is not easy to raise funding. Being a startup from Poland or scale-up, Cash Director is a scale-up, and we are already after round A, so we are doing quite well. But my experience is that it's quite easy to get seed money, angel money, seed money. There are a lot of seed funds in Poland. They are backed by PFR, and luckily we have PFR, luckily, because thanks to PFR also international VCs started to invest in Poland in cooperation with or using some PFR money. So in terms of seed, that's fine. However, after the seed investment, it is difficult to raise round A and round B. Because there are very few, let's say, larger funds in Poland, and larger, it's really medium in compared to the US funds, of course. And Markus said that, the US funds did not enter the market yet, so in Poland. So we are dealing with local funds. Local funds are risk averse. If you really want to grow internationally the business, you need, or we need to not only not only expand to the European markets, but also to the US markets, yes. And to go to the US, you need to have very brave and, brave investors ready to take some risks, of course, because it's difficult to succeed on the US market, but the returns are huge and the market is huge, and, it's super, there is a huge potential, of course. Now, just to finish on that, while wanting to expand overseas, it's important to be able to be backed by a US investor. And a US investor will look at us as a scale-up only when we are at least above 5 million annual recurring revenue. And they would like to see already some operations in the US, already the first client in the US, already the first revenue in the US. So now, in order to, let's say, reach this minimum demands of a US fund, we need more money from Europe to support this jump over the ocean. And I will answer about the banks later.
Okay, thank you very much. If I may add here before giving the mic to you. I just recently read a very important news about this part of financing later stage startups in general, not necessarily in fintech, because the European Union is committed to compensate this lack of capital for later stage. And I think that it is a decision of the European Union to invest like 30 billion in the funds of funds that will be dedicated fully to B, C, D series, where definitely it's a gap, immense gap, and not all the business models are necessarily applicable in the US. So we all dream about US market. We want to passport our companies there, but not necessarily everything is applicable, and we should have some also European unicorns, ideally, that are for European people. So coming back to you, how is this battle between the adoption of new technologies and trends inside the big bank, which also has some challenges in terms of getting rid of the legacy system, the legacy procedures, the restriction in the legislation? How do you feel this inside the bank?
So that's why, because of the legal issues and some security issues and regulation issues, so that's why the banks are cooperating with like fintech startups, yeah, or like other insurtech startups. So because sometimes it's, for example, or they are doing sub banks, yeah, but it's more complicated. Or sometimes, for example, for some, let's say, new services, banks cannot do through like a legal service today, like a corporation, but simply, giving the money to the, like a startups, the fintechs, to the things that are doing some software for the, some better factoring, better or faster, or like a more prepared to the digital world, like services like factoring, like escrow, like other, like other, classic banking services, but digital world needs also the services, but more digitalized, which is like a more complicated for banks. So I see like one option is that we as a bank we are cooperating to start implementing their services. Second thing, we are simply like giving them money to operate. Yeah, so like lending to startups, cheaper money, like the cheaper option. And also sometimes, if it's possible, if we are buying the startup, yeah. But think again what I said before, that due to that because of banks, like are late in this digitalization of financial services, some banks finally, like I was not only banks are buying start by fintechs, but some banks was bought by fintechs because of the, like the unfortunately.
The lucky ones which grew enough to buy banks in the end. So maybe about the number of such events, and we would love to see not necessarily more startups buying banks, but more startups growing big. As an investor, we've seen, and to give a bit of a feedback on that experience, we've seen that sometimes because of these regulations, because of the interaction with the banks and the slow movement, so because I think it's a difference when you discuss with a neobank compared to a classical bank, the growth rate of these fintech startups has been slower. And that's why sometimes when you want to move fast and grow to that exponential adoption, we tend to go to other areas, but we definitely believe that in medium and long term, we should do some solid investments in domains which need some revolution. And I would be curious, before going to Richard, because we're not, how do you feel as a startup this cycle of adoption from the beginning where you have the contact with the bank and the first time they give you the feedback, it's a great idea, we should have it, until they really start to communicate to their customers?
Yeah, a painful question, but good one. So, of course, I mean, don't expect that I will answer that it's all easy, because it is not. But we understand, and fintech understands, that banks are huge organizations with long decision-making process, and we know this. We understand this. That's not something that's not surprising. So from my experience, we were able, let's say the project that we implemented, really the fastest was actually 1 month to implement cooperation with a fintech bank, yes, and it kind of neo-niche bank, because the bank was also, or is also, a fintech. So they move fast, they have short, let's say, decision cycles, and they know that if they want to survive, they need to act fast. However, in terms of cooperating with large banks, and we have some agreements with large banks, it goes until 12 months, yes, from the moment we start the discussions. And yes, we need to live with this, because we also, I mean, it's very important that fintech understands, or representative of fintechs understand, how the decisions are being made within the very large regulated organizations such as banks. But it's very important, and I always, hope that banks understand that for fintechs, a very, very long decision-making process can mean that at the end there will be nobody to speak to, because the startup will go bankrupt, yes? Luckily, as I mentioned, we are happy because as Cash Director, we are backed with EC, Magenta, with Luma Ventures. We are already, we actually were cash positive for the last couple of months. So we already passed this period that we are struggling, yes, but still we experience this long decision-making process. However, I'd like to maybe touch upon the fact that I deeply believe, and I hope banks share this view, I deeply believe that there is a big opportunity and a big benefit, like important benefit for the banks to work with fintech companies, because this allows banks to implement innovative solutions much faster and much cheaper. Really, some banks have this tendency of saying, okay, this is a cool solution, it's really cool, let's do it. We will do it within our, within the bank, why not? But then...
Give us exclusivity.
Yes, give exclusivity, or let's do it ourselves. Yes, but then of course everybody. I mean, the development of a similar solution within the bank takes longer because of the fact these are regulated organizations, and each process needs a longer process of approval. Also, the cost of developing within the bank is much higher. I mean, really, people in startups work for lower salaries than people in large banks, yes? And plus we are backed with VC monies. So I hope banks understand this and see this value, that it's really to have a quick win and fast to go to market with a certain idea and solution. It's really beneficial to work with fintechs.
Thank you very much. So we should take a lesson learned out of that. Really calculate smartly the duration and the sales cycle before you plan, and also you plan to raise a round, because it's great to hit your targets and not to disappoint in order to keep the growth, even if it's steady, but to keep it. So we're coming right now after 2021, in which we had the biggest investments in fintech. We had the PSD2 giving some results in terms of adoption. What areas do you think are not covered, or how do you think fintech could reinvent and do more for the entire industry? Richard?
Yeah, so we talked about the relationship with fintech and banks, and the fintech, as far as I can see, the fintech is a huge cake, and just one slice is the banking technology. And as Konrad mentioned before, for example, online factoring and insurance tech, and we have regulation tech, which is maybe most important in these years. So as I can see the future in this part, of course, we have a huge growth in banking technology for the future, but we, as an investor, take care about insurtech and regulation tech companies as well. So regarding the regulation, as you mentioned, in the banking technology for PSD2, so the European regulators implemented PSD2, but they didn't or haven't taken care about the regulation of insurtech companies. So I think there is a potential to startups, but they can wait for the first step from the regulator.
Okay, we touched briefly upon the cryptocurrency and decentralized finance, and definitely the volatility and the huge gains attracted a lot of attention, and a lot of the money are funneled there. How do you perceive this trend, and where do you think it will go?
So my perspective is, so the cryptocurrency is a buzzword now. I think maybe it's too risky for us to invest into from this region into the cryptocurrency world. A lot of US and UK investors do this and maybe take a huge gain about it. But for us, it's too risky. So cryptocurrency now is a buzzword, but I'm not sure what will be the end of this area. But the other thing you mentioned,
Decentralized finance.
The decentralized finance, yeah, I truly believe the blockchain technology, and a lot of startups use the blockchain technology now, not just for cryptocurrencies, but in other areas of usage of this technology. So, for example, we have a startup in our portfolio who helped the banks to do the compliance process, and the system built on blockchain technology, which is a really safe technology and the closed technology. So yeah, it's pretty good, and there is a huge potential of the technology, not the cryptocurrency, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. Very often when we hear blockchain, we always think about crypto. But there are so many other ways to apply blockchain. We have actually a startup which provides a solution for distributing IP rights in the movie industry. So it's very simple and just one click. And I think we should find more and more applications of that, but are very rare in this region. So I was curious whether you are considering extending yourself into this decentralized finance as a provider, or finding new ways of monetizing the blockchain technology apart crypto, which is definitely your competitor in terms of financing.
Maybe in the future, yes. It's not something we are working right now, but we've been asked this question several times, and we are not saying no, yes. But however, our technology is now based on, automated. It's a AI-based, automated system for booking and, managing, reconciling transactions between invoice documents and bank payments. So that's what we focus on right now.
Okay. So now the banking view over these decentralized finance and cryptocurrency. How do you feel our considering the attitude of regulators, which differs a lot from one country to another? How do you plan on to navigate in these new waters and opportunities that I think are arising from this?
So starting from the cryptocurrencies, so like for now, like Richard said, it's for banks. It's also a little bit too risky to to enter to fully to the cryptocurrency market. But what banks starting to do with cryptocurrencies is adding as a VACs as value added services possibility to buy cryptocurrencies through their app. But usually it's not like you are buying these cryptocurrencies, but it's you're buying ETFs, of these cryptocurrencies, but it's happening right now. So this is the I think first official touch of the regular cryptocurrencies. But talking about blockchain, so this is in this area. Of course, we are totally in our bank in PKO. You have the special department doing blockchain. We have the blockchain sandbox for the blockchain startups. We have like a lot of maybe it's not a good word, but we have some implementation of Polish and international startups, like helping us challenging some, like the document issues. So because of that, we have, like a millions less of documents, printing. So it's like it's first of all it's ecological, but second of all it's like it's also for the less money we spend for the like for printing documents simply. So yes, so blockchain. Yes, we are doing it. We are trying to, like to be the most common bank in blockchain technology. So we are trying to implement blockchain wherever it's possible. Now, in the case of cryptocurrency, like it's without regulation, we cannot do anything more. But talking about this subject, also we can say like few words about metaverse. Yeah, so it's also connected to the to the subject. Yeah, so this is what I see right now. So this very interesting subject for banks. So we can see that JP Morgan and the HSBC enter to this, like a metaverse world. Of course, right now it's more marketing than real business, but I guess that okay, maybe now it's a marketing or PR purpose, but when you're entering, I guess that finally they will try to to offer some, let's say, bank services, maybe digital bank services to the metaverse. But of course, the question is the metaverse needs banks? Yeah, I mean, like if they need the services offered, like in the real world. Yeah.
Okay, but metaverse indeed it's an interesting addition to this world. I was curious because you both mentioned that it's too risky to go into crypto investments, but at the same time, JP Morgan and the US players are going into this space, both in metaverse and crypto. What do you think is different from the banking perspective, from the investment perspective, between Europe and US?
To be honest, it's a hard question for me, but I guess it's I guess that it's about the European regulation basically. That I think it's harder in Europe to enter that, but also what, in my opinion, could be different. That, for example, like European banks, mostly like Polish or Central Eastern European banks, are more digitalized, more like modern than the banks in like in the US, in the other countries. So maybe also this is a little bit about that, that when, for example, like old banks are trying to be modern, so they are digitalized in the moment where, like the different world is, and they are trying to, more facing the crypto issues that our banks, which are modern right now, so they are not doing the revolution. Yeah, they have to do the revolution, but it's my guess.
So from the investor side, I think it's a bit strange, but I see the shortage of financing in this region. So compared with the US. So the US market, there are a lot of LPs, VCs, and investing into everything, let's say. And but in the European Union and mainly in the CEE region, we have to think twice or three times where will we invest into. And that's why I think that cryptocurrency is too risky for this region, and it's more comfortable for the US investors.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is the area that we wanted to cover in our small debate. If there are any questions from the audience, online or here? Yay, background sound. Okay. Thank you for staying awake with us until now, and hope you had some relevant content from our side, and looking forward to see you again. Thank you.
Well, I just maybe as a one sentence that will be optimistic at the end. Although it's difficult to fundraise in CEE, in Poland, we are super lucky to have a very modern banking sector. Yes,
That's true.
as you both mentioned. I mean, really compared to some U.S. banks, and the experience I had with opening a bank in UK as a company in UK. With opening a bank account in US because we have subsidiaries. I mean, really, the experience in Poland is fantastic. So let's finish this panel with a positive statement.
You saved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.